Okay, welcome back, and been looking forward to having Rabbi Schneider with us today. He's a Messianic Jewish teacher and host, known for teaching about Jewish roots and Christian faith and the identity of Jesus as the Jewish Messiah. His ministry focuses on Jewish heritage of Jesus, Messianic prophecy, relationships between the Old and the New Testaments, and the continuing place of the Jewish people in God's plan. He does have a website, Jews.com. Jews.com is the website, and you can go there and check it out. Delighted to have him with us today. Rabbi Schneider, good to see you. How are you, friend?
God bless you, my brother. Harry, thank you for having me on today.
You bet. Where are you? Where are we talking to you from?
I am presently in Columbus, Ohio, the heart of the Midwest.
Right there. No tornadoes today. No tornadoes today, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Oh, so much to talk to you about. Can I ask you just a basic, well, let me ask you this. Give us your story of seeing Jesus as the Messiah.
Yes, I grew up in a very Jewish home, in a very Jewish neighborhood. I was bar mitzvahed in a conservative synagogue, and I knew nothing about Jesus growing up. He was never mentioned in my home. He was as far away to me, Perry, as the man on the moon. But what happened was when I was 18 years old, I ran into a huge challenge in my life. I would basically describe it as an identity crisis, first of all, because I was a very committed athlete. I wrestled and trained in high school all year long, had a small scholarship to college. When I walked off the wrestling mat after wrestling my last match in high school, it was like suddenly I was leaving the bubble that I was in, a place where I was in control. I knew what my purpose was. I was leaving that world, and I was going into the big world now. And in an instant, after walking off that wrestling mat, I didn't know who I was, where I was going. And I went, Perry, from feeling in control, because I was in control on the wrestling mat, and now I was going into a world where I wasn't in control. So it was a terrible place to be. I lived in that place for 2 years. I spent as much time as possible sleeping just to escape the mental torment I was in. And I ended up dropping out of college. I thought maybe if I made a lot of money, it would take away some of the pain that I was dealing with. I knew making money wasn't the answer because I grew up in a fairly wealthy neighborhood, and I saw the people in my neighborhood had problems too, but I didn't know what else to do. So I dropped out of school to open up a discotheque. And it was during this time that I was launching this business venture that I went to sleep one night. It was 1978. It was a hot August night. I was living in Beechwood, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cleveland. And keep in mind now that no one had ever witnessed to me. I never thought about Jesus a day in my life. I was completely unfamiliar with any Christian doctrine, but on this August night when I was 20 years old, I was awoken from my sleep into what I would describe as a conscious state of awareness. And in that state, Jesus appeared on the cross. It was in color. There was people in the distance looking at it as he was being crucified, and then a ray of red light came straight down from above, even from above the blue sky, onto his head. And when I saw that ray of red light come down on Jesus's head, I understood, Perry, the symbolism that the light was coming from God, and God was revealing himself to me and showing me that Jesus was the way to him. It lasted no more than 2 seconds, but I was marked. I looked at my clock ready. It was 3:30 in the morning, got out of bed, and hope came into my heart. I knew no Christian doctrine. I knew nothing about sin, nothing. But I knew that God had revealed himself to me and shown me that Jesus was the way. So that's my story of how I came to faith.
Wow. So let me ask you a very fundamental question, because this is, to me, so amazing. How can a Jew read the 39 books of the Old Testament and not see Jesus as the fulfillment of it?
You know, so many believers, so many Christians feel like that. They ask themselves that question, but I'm telling you, I wish I could flesh it out more. But Jewish people, first of all, most of them do not know the scriptures well. So that's the first thing that we need to be said. A lot of Christians, they're afraid to share their faith with Jewish people because they feel like the Jewish people are the people of the book. They know the Bible much better than me. That is not the truth. There is a segment of Jewish people that know the scriptures pretty well, the Orthodox Jews, but the vast majority of Jewish people do not. That's the first thing.
Okay.
They're not seeing the prophecy. Secondly, the rabbis have been the ones that have shaped the Jewish mind. And the rabbis, since the time of Yeshua, since the time of Jesus, have tried to cover up anything that pertains to Jesus. Remember when Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead? And the response of the religious leaders, the Sadducees and the Pharisees, was, we're going to kill him in John chapter 11. We have to kill him. They said, if we let him continue, everybody's going to believe in him, and we're going to lose our place in our nation. So there's been a cover-up within the religious Jewish world concerning Jesus' identity for 2,000 years. It's almost comical. In the very next chapter, in John chapter 12, they also decided they needed to kill Lazarus to destroy the evidence. Mm-hmm. So Jewish people are not exposed to Jesus because the religious leadership in Judaism has covered it up since Jesus' day. Now, when we go to and look at specific messianic prophecies, and we say, well, how did Jewish people not see that? Again, number one, they don't know the prophecies, generally speaking. And number two, if they do know the prophecies, it's been taught to them that they don't mean what followers of Jesus say that it means. So, for example, Isaiah 53, probably the most clear-cut messianic prophecy, the traditional rabbis would say that passage is about Israel. And most Jewish people, they just trust what the rabbis say. It's a religion of books and what the rabbis say. So it's like Paul said in Romans, there's a veil over their eyes. And finally, the last thing to say, in fairness to the Jewish people, a lot of the prophecies that we take for prophetic language, for example, when Matthew quotes that Jesus fulfilled this, and then he quotes the scripture from the Hebrew Bible, when you go and look at the scripture that the New Testament says Jesus fulfilled, when you read the scripture in the original historical context, sometimes it doesn't even look like a prophecy. For example, in the early pages of Matthew, where it says that they took the child Jesus to Egypt, and then after the Pharaoh had died, they took Jesus out of Egypt back to Israel. Not the Pharaoh, but after the one that was persecuting the Jewish people had died. They brought Jesus out of Egypt back into Israel, and then Matthew says that the scripture would be fulfilled. And he quotes it's from the book of Hosea. But when you read it in the book of Hosea, it doesn't appear to be a prophecy. In Hosea, God is just recounting the history of Israel, and he says, out of Egypt did I call my son. So we have to understand that the way the New Testament writers used prophecies from the Hebrew scriptures were not black and white. It sometimes was more of an art than a science. And I've actually written a book called Messianic Prophecy Revealed, where I go through all this.
I say this respectfully. Am I hearing you say that, in a traditional sense, that this is intentional censorship of prophecy?
I would say that there has been an element of intentional censorship. For example, we have on Shabbat the readings of, we have a reading from the Torah, the first 5 books of our Bible in the Jewish synagogue, and then we have a reading from the prophets called the Haftorah. But Isaiah 53, the most prophetic a picture of the Messiah, is not read in the Jewish synagogues.
Oh. Okay. Let me ask you.
But I do want to be careful here, because most Jewish people don't even know enough to understand what's going on.
Okay.
It's a tradition that's been handed down.
From your time of a supernatural experience in Revelation, and now going back into your Jewish roots and looking through this, it's got to be pretty mind-blowing to you, isn't it?
Which part do you mean? Tell me.
Well, from the time that you've had that experience and then going back into your roots to verify what you experienced had to be quite something.
Yes, and the thing that really, Harry, has been the most solidifying of all for me is the fact that I actually have a relationship with the Lord that I know is real. It's supernatural. Not only did God reveal himself to me supernatural back in 1978, showing me that Jesus is the Messiah, but I continue to have a supernatural experience with God. So the greatest evidence to me is the personal connection. It's the actual experience of knowing him. Oh. Like Jesus said to the Pharisees, he said, you search the scriptures because you think in them you have life, yet it's these that bear witness of me. And you
Yeah.
refuse to come to me that you might have life. Like I've seen miracles. I've preached all over the world. I've literally seen verifiably a blind woman healed in Lira, Uganda, when I was ministering there. But you know what? Even greater than that is the change that's taken place in my own heart and the continual transformation that's taking place. So that's the biggest thing. We developed a website, and I just want to encourage everybody that's listening right now, if there's a Jewish person that you know, that you love, or run into, direct them to this website, Jews.com. You can send them the link, you can text it to them, you can write it down on a piece of paper. Jews.com. It's that simple. And I developed that website, Perry, specifically to share Messiah with Jewish people. Because when there's a massive Jewish people that come to faith, that will usher in the Lord's return.
All right, we're showing it there on the screen, Jews.com, Jews.com. So, Rabbi Schneider, is there, we're hearing about it, maybe you can verify it, if I can use a biblical term, but there seems to be a growing phenomenon of the scales drawing from Jews' eyes and seeing Jesus as the Messiah. Is that true?
Well, I believe it is true, and I believe that we're about to see a huge breakthrough with Jews.com. Right now, we're all over New York City. We've got huge billboards in the major arteries and veins and interstates through New York City. In fact, after this phone call today, I have an interview with the Jewish newspaper in New York City, and they're not coming to the interview to rah what I'm doing. It's a huge thing that's going on there. So I believe that the Lord gave us the domain name Jews.com because He's about to do something big in the lives of His first covenant people.
How would you describe the evangelical Christian understanding you?
Well, my ministry, my television and radio ministry, Discovering the Jewish Jesus, we air on close to 200 radio stations and on most of the Christian networks. I'm attracting a lot of God's people that are open to the truth, they're hungry for more, and they want to understand the Jewish roots of their Christian faith. So the people that I'm hearing from, are very much appreciative of what I'm doing. It's like they're getting fresh manna. But I also realize, Perry, that there are many Christians out there that probably don't understand what I'm doing and really don't know how to process somebody teaching on the Hebrew roots of the Christian faith, maybe thinking I'm trying to bring them back to the law, which I've never have done and would never do. It's not part of my theology at all. But some people, it's new to them, so they might misunderstand it. But those that are hungry and open are really drawn to it.
All right, let me take a quick break here. Let me say to our viewers and listeners to really go to Jews.com. That's kind of where it all starts. It's an amazing website and terrific resource. There's a picture of the landing page, and you can connect with Rabbi Schneider there. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. What an honor to have with us Rabbi Schneider, a Messianic Jewish teacher and host. He is with us today, and what an honor to have him. I want to honor your time. I know you're on a tight schedule. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, you can connect more with him and learn more about his ministry. Jews.com is the website. Jews.com is the website. Rabbi, how are you handling the rise of anti-Semitism?
Wow, I just got back from New York City last week, a few days ago, and I have never experienced Jew hatred to that degree in my life. I mean, I've been watching the news, I'm hearing about it, I read about it, all this stuff, but to actually be in New York City, to have our billboards on Jews.com, and to have opportunity when people go to the website, they can email us or text us, and to see the amount of vile hatred towards Jewish people coming out of New York City, which is kind of the epicenter of it all in the States. It really was shocking. Yeah, I feel for my people, especially those that are living in places like New York City, where many of them are afraid, to be bold about who they are on the streets. Probably some of them used to wear a Jewish star around their neck. They're not wearing them anymore. It's a terrible thing. It's part of the unfolding plan of God that's leading up to Yeshua's return. I mean, I could go on forever about what is happening from eschatology in terms of end times results. But let me simply say that anti-Semitism, the rise of it, it's one of many different symptoms that we truly are entering in as in the world into very turbulent times, and it's not going to stop until Messiah's return, in my view.
Wow. Uh, the Jewish traditions are rich, very rich.
We are. It's a beautiful thing.
And iconic in many ways. Do you still recognize a lot of those?
I love it. I love it. You know, despite the fact that the rabbis and I, traditional Judaism and I, have a different road, I love my people. I love our tradition. I love the rich teaching within rabbinic Judaism. You know, they miss Jesus, but there's so much depth in so much teaching that comes out of rabbinicism. I celebrate, you know, the Jewish holy days. I'm not an Orthodox Jew, but I celebrate Shabbat. I eat kosher, you know, not because I'm under the law, but because I want to identify with my people and the call upon my people.
Do you practice a Seder?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I'd like to go to one.
Oh, wow. I used to do them every year in Toledo when I pastored a Messianic congregation there. But if you're interested, the person that replaced me, I trained him up. He's not Jewish, but he's going to a Chosen People, which is one of the strongest Jewish missions in the country. He's pursuing his master's degree from them. So he does a Seder every year in Toledo. If you're interested, just look up Lion of Judah and in Toledo, Ohio, and you'll be able to write him and you know, tell him you're interested in going to the Seder next year. I wish you could come to mine.
Okay. A couple other questions, and again, I'm trying to manage the time here.
Yeah.
We're seeing an interesting phenomenon, at least here in America. People are trying to say they love the Jewish people, but they hate the Israel state. Do you understand that problem?
I do. I think it's difficult sometimes for people that think that way, and they want to think that way, and they want to be objective. I think it's very easy to go from hating Israel to hating Jewish people. I think it's a slippery road. But I do understand that loving Jewish people does not mean that we are endorsing or blessing everything that Israel as a nation does, nor are we blessing that everything that every individual Jew does. The way they think, the way they act. So I think there's a difference. I think I think it comes out of respect for God. And we realize that God has a covenant with Israel and the Jewish people that's irrevocable. And because we love God, we love his people, and we bless them. But the greatest way to bless Jewish people is by sharing Messiah with them.
Yeah.
That's what Jews.com does. When you share a link, when you share Jews.com with somebody, the website does the work of introducing them to Messiah. And you can't back away because somebody might be offended or angry. Jesus said, if they hated me, they're going to hate you. It's part of the price we pay. We're called not just to reign with Jesus, but to suffer with him. And we pay a price for being his witnesses on the earth. Jesus said, if you were of the world would love you. But I chose you out of the world and ordained you to bear fruit. So we got to be both. If we love Jewish people, we should share Messiah with them. And Jews.com is I believe, the greatest tool on earth that the church has right now to share Messiah with the Jewish people they know and care about.
So the covenant that God has had with Jews and Israel creates a jealousy, obviously, as God's chosen. And we have the battle in the Middle East today. What's your 30,000-foot view?
Can you please forgive me? Can you repeat the question one more time for me, my brother?
Well, let me just say, let me simplify it.
Okay.
Looking at it through eschatology, how would you explain what's going on in the Middle East today?
Well, I think there is a complete breakdown in order in every realm of society. You know, we saw before what happened in Israel broke out after the Gaza invasion. We saw the breakdown in morality with the transgenderism and the LGBTQ, and just people had lost their minds. Like their common sense was gone. So what we're seeing happening in the Middle East is an escalation and a continuation of the disorder that's breaking into the earth, and that the disorder breeds violence.
Right.
So we're seeing a continuation of the power of darkness unfolding in the earth, which we saw so powerfully morally back under the previous administration. And now we're seeing that same power of darkness being manifest in a different way in terms of hatred towards Israel and hatred towards the Jewish people. It's all building up. It's all building up, Jesus said. Nation's going to rise against nation. Kingdom's going to rise against kingdom. This is not yet the end. These are the birth pangs, but look up, for your redemption draweth nigh.
Rabbi, you're fascinating. Can we stay connected? Can we get you back?
I love you, brother. From the second I saw you, I said, wow, this is a professional work you guys are doing. So Alice has my contact number. Please feel free to reach out anytime. I'd love to connect, and I love you too, my brother. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And I know you got to go. Let me just say Jews.com is the bottom line here. I think what the rabbi is saying here, you get him to the website, and the rest will take care of itself. And that's Jews.com. Thank you, Rabbi. Have a blessed day, and we'll stay connected.
Thank you, sir. And blessings to all that are listening today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.